got a death wish, hectic. Cody says, man, Punk looking hungry tonight. Jake nods, but Seth flips, guts all in a fight. Roman stomps through, Rex plans in his strut. Tribal chief with bad vibes, tearing it up. MSG crowd, stunned faces in the stand. Cody shakes his head, this again. Damn, man. Get it down, Raw's mess on replay. Jake and Cody laughing, talking our way. Roman's shadow creeping, ruins the whole play. Triple threats faded, mania calls, they say. The garden stomps through, Rex plans in his strut. Tribal chief with bad vibes, tearing it up. MSG crowd, stunned faces in the stands. Cody shakes his head, this again? Damn, man.
What's going on, ladies and gents? Jake, a.k.a. Countdown Ended, back at you once again, coming to you live with the Raw review. I'm here, joined once again by the one, the only Cody. What's going on, my friend?
How's it going?
Going
good.
well, yeah. I know early Raw, I mean, kind of feels weird, right? Like our Monday nights, not having something to do, you know? It's a certainly weird adjustment, but it's much better seeing it live than having to go ahead and wait and watch a tape show with spoilers later on. So I loved it being this way. Yeah.
Smack.
What's that?
That's what's going to suck about SmackDown.
Yeah, absolutely. And SmackDown's going to take a hit not being live. So unfortunately, because of the deal they have with USA Network in America, we kind of get screwed for that one. But I wish it aired live at least overseas. I mean, America can't get it but I prefer it being live. Shout out to everybody in the chat. What's going on, the Ghetto God, and everybody else joining in as we file in this Monday for our WWE Raw St. Patrick's Day review. No green on my end, just a green screen and green with envy because people there live got to see one hell of a show. That opening was truly everything I expected and then some. My original kind of worry was that Cena was again going to come out, put the mic up, and drop it. But he got the Roman Reigns night after WrestleMania 33, Raw After Mania treatment, where he got booed out of the building.
Loved it.
Absolutely loved it. I mean, and the rest of the show kind of took a little bit of a hit. It was very mid-card focused and centric. No Punk, no Roman. Seth kind of made his statements known, tearing into both of them, leading to their eventual triple threat at Mania. So, I mean, so far we're building nicely. The road to WrestleMania still has a bunch of surprises and things coming along the way. But yeah, Raw already happened. It aired at 3 p.m. Eastern in the United States because they were in Brussels, Belgium tonight. And I'm really happy that they went ahead and aired this live. And the fact that you can go back and watch it like it's live at any point in time now. People getting out of work get to go ahead and start. They don't have to worry about too many things for spoilers because you just kind of get right into it. So being mid-afternoon is nice. I like that we don't have the spoilers floating above our heads for this show. And this was certainly one that needed to be live. The first interaction between Cody and Cena had to be seen to be believed. They could not have done it more expertly crafted than how they managed to do so by having it be in a overseas crowd. And it's just incredible how they put us to shame, like you said, Cody.
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier. Those international crowds do way better than us. And if this was taped, this would have sucked and killed the WrestleMania vibe. I'm glad that they had this live, and what a great crowd we had tonight.
They were incredible, chanting and cheering the entire time. They even sang for AJ for a bit. If I'm a nomino, but yeah, you can go back on Netflix and you can watch it just like it's about to start at any point in time. The on-screen DVR will be ready, so you can go ahead and replay today's episode. But when you do that, come back here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell so you turn notifications on when we go live at random times like this, because Raw is on at 3 in the afternoon. Who would have thunk it? But yeah, all in all, like I said, mid-card centric, not really much of the top focus past the opening. But did they give them a ton of time for that opening, and it was worth every second. Absolutely. We've got some good build towards next week as well. It seems like they've got this tag match, A-Town Down, taking on Jey Uso and a mystery partner. Got some ideas for that.
I'm going to go with it might be Jimmy.
You're thinking Jimmy. I'm thinking a bit broader. So we'll touch on that when we get to it in a little bit. But I want to start out right at the top. You know, they gave us what we wanted right away. They weren't going to wait on anything. They said, hey, let's do this. Let's make it white hot. And a lot of people were wondering, what do we get with John now? Is it a new look, a new song? Are we going to get new merchandise? And his music hits. Yeah, you get the infamous My Time Is Now theme hits. Do, 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 do. But instead of running out and saluting and rushing to the ring like he always runs down there, it's very slow, methodical, plodding. Plodding along, not so much plotting. But yeah, he's plotting too. He's plotting to win his 17th title win at WrestleMania. So everything he does is cold and calculated. But he kind of went with an angle of this, which at first I wasn't necessarily too thrilled with it. So they're going with the angle of John has been booed and treated poorly for a long time, and he's saying that he's in a unhealthy, nasty relationship with the fans, and he wants to basically make it known that he reached his breaking point. And
right at first it was like they were making it where they were talking about his reaction from 10 years ago, because in recent years they've been very well received.
Yeah, John's been cheered since I want to say like 2015, 16. 2015 when he got the U.S. title, did the open challenges helped. Then in 2016 where he went to SmackDown and him and AJ and all that stuff, that was great. And then 2017 he buried face Roman and we were just kind of having fun with him. And then around 2018 he was kind of not a main focus all the time. He wasn't the main event. And, I mean, he was the main event of WrestleMania all the way up until 29, and then he wasn't the main event again yet. And that's, I mean, he's opened Manias. He's certainly done everything but close them.
And he's gets the opportunity to close one this year, and what better way as a heel?
Exactly. And, he comes out there tonight, and he wanted to make it known. He starts to talk, and he looks like he's going to drop the mic a couple of times and not say anything, so he's really feeding into that heel heat. And he says, I'm the victim. You guys have always bullied me. And at first I was like, well, John used to come out and say booing's okay because any reaction is a good reaction. And this was like very straightforward heel. Like but thankfully he didn't break the fourth wall and be like, I'm not really a bad guy. I'm just playing one on, like we got him to be him. So he stuck to it. And he said outright, I'm not a heel. I'm not a babyface. I'm a human being. And the crowd has been treating me badly for 25 years. I tell you all, this is my last year. I give this to you. I don't do just one date. I'm going to do it all. And this is where the crowd tearing into him starts to chant, fuck you, Cena. And even on Netflix, they're trying to censor it a little bit, but they can't get the timing right.
Triple H said this wouldn't happen. And for whatever reason, it's happening still.
It's still happening. I don't know why they're censoring things, but it's Netflix. They shouldn't be. Maybe because of the overseas regulations is different. I'm not sure. But he called the crowd sons of bitches. And he goes through at one point and he basically says that, we have this toxic relationship. Even small children like you. And they cut to this young boy adorned in Cena merch. And he just looks befallen and heartbroken and totally destroyed.
He really said F them kids.
Yeah, he really did. And it could not have come across better. I mean, this poor child just did not know what to do. The look of despair on his face. He was confused. He was hurt. He's adorned in John Cena merch. His hero is calling him basically a fake and a loser on live TV. So definitely not easy for that child to deal with. But
I'm liking this a lot.
It certainly was a hot start, though. I liked it. I liked John being fierce. I liked John being unruly. What's going on? Casey is raw, Coot Dilute, Ghetto God. We got everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. We're also live on Rumble. So YouTube was not too happy with our TNA Sacrifice review. And originally they took it down for violence and basically like unsavory content, and it came down to me showing that DDT from the turnbuckle in one of the matches. Like that was too much for them for the wrestling, and the appeal went through, and the stream since came back. But it's good to broaden our wings. So besides Twitch and whatnot, we're also on Rumble. So you go ahead and find the info in the description down below, or you can go ahead and search for Countdown Ended. Make sure you go ahead and give me a follow over there if you're hanging out on the green side. But yeah, John is just ripping everybody apart here, and he calls Cody just a new toy, and you guys just throw the old one away, and he's like, all the Cena sucks people are just jack-offs, and he said the Let's Go people are even just as much pathetic. And all of a sudden, Cody's music hits, and they're obviously the loudest pop yet. They're singing along. They're happy that their hero is here. And I mean, while the crowd gave Cena their all of their hate, their vitriol, they sent every bit of energy their way. They did the opposite for Cody by sending all the positive, like uplifting energy. Singing along to his song and just being involved in the chants. And I will say this, I said it on Twitter, Cody, but it kind of blew my mind hearing Cena get a, for the most part, unanimous reaction. When he first came out, for him to be 100% booed is shocking. Because except for the ECW one night stand, Bizarro World, scenario where John wins, we riot. Since those moments, you've never had the entire audience ripping him to pieces, no matter who he's faced. He's always yeah, exactly. There was always somebody there. There was always some woman, child, or even adult supporting him. You heard "Let's Go Cena," Cena sucks, and then the "Let's Go Cena" chants got louder. And he's been being cheered for a very long time recently, like the past 5 years. People go nuts when he comes out. So a little bit of this, not that it didn't work, but it was kind of questionable. There was no mention of The Rock or selling his soul or anything there. So I guess they're saving more for SmackDown, which is good because we still have quite a ways to get there. We've got about 6 weeks till Mania at this point, 5 weeks, and again, we get the crowd chanting when Cody's trying to talk. We hear them, Cody says, "You're pathetic." And we hear the crowd chanting, "Shut the fuck up." They do the "na-na goodbye" thing. Like, they are so loud. He's like, the Cena fans don't wear your clothes for support. They wear it because it makes them feel good. He lives the words hustle, loyalty, and respect. He said the fans don't support him, and they'll use him as an excuse for their pathetic failure of a life. And I was like, damn, they're really doing this. Cena's like, this toxic, dysfunctional relationship, I'm breaking up with you. Love that line.
That's right.
So good.
Say, I'm not a face, I'm not a heel, I'm a human being.
Yes, I'm a human being. And he's like, I think everybody was willing to hear you out, even myself, Cody's trying to say. And he's like, and if I understood you correctly, they've given you their worst. And then that's when Cena goes ahead, as I said before. He's like, they've also given you their best. And that's when he says, "Listen, kid," and Cody cuts him off and starts screaming, "Enough!" And he's like, and it's not kid, it's WWE champion. Oh yeah. He stood up to John Cena.
I like how they didn't have John Cena tear him to shreds on the microphone, because Cody is a good promo, but John Cena's on a whole tier of his own.
Yeah.
With promo. So if Cena really wanted to, he could flame him on the microphone.
Cena did some top-level acting here, but it wasn't all acting, because a lot of this does ring true. John has been hated, and even if not by everyone, always by someone. He's never been the 100% hero. Even when people were happy to see him, it still wasn't everybody. Cena was just so damn good here. His acting was believable. He never strayed into that unbelievable territory. It is a little weird to see, like, all right, he reached his breaking point, but you can almost kind of get it. If they really play up this obsession with him doing what's best for business by winning the next title and unlocking that, finally, like, in the record books, title reign, and he gets to go ahead and beat Ric Flair's record. Oh my God! So in his mind, he hasn't won a singles match in so long. Thousands and thousands and thousands of days have passed since he last won a singles match. Since he last won a match, it's crazy. So to have him be in such a state of despair and desperation that he needs to win at Mania, that he'll do anything. It is
That's
interesting.
Why they pointed out how he said, I'm not a face, I'm not a heel, I'm a human being, because human beings get frustrated, and he's been frustrated not being able to win a match for so long, and he's so desperate to win number 17 and break the record.
So
we're just your head.
Yeah, I mean, full steam ahead, John. I loved this, and it was great. He explained his actions in a way where the best part of those who are bad guys, evil guys, is having them be right to a certain extent, or believable, or speaking truth, whatever it might be. Having that air of believability where you can not only relate, but find, if not compassion, at least understanding on some level. You can see how John always tried. He truly never gave up on the fans, and they just kept coming at him and coming at him and coming at him, and he withstood it all. And while they told him the worst of things, he gave them his best with the Make-A-Wishes, record-breaking, giving children their dying days a smile to leave the world on. That's massive. So for him to turn his back on all of that and finally be broken because of a title record that needs to be broken is incredible. And Meow Meow's back in the chat. Yeah, Raw was at 3 p.m. And so you are all aware, Raw will be on at 4 p.m. Eastern next week. So not 3 next week, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So an hour later, because of them coming from Germany. They'll be there this Friday from Italy. Interesting to see what we get from that. So we still have a lot more building to do with Roman, with Punk. They pretty much did solidify the triple threat tonight with Rhea, Bianca, and Io. We'll see what else we get from Mania. But any other thoughts on this opening promo segment, Cody?
I like it. I think it's logical for the most part. Just the only thing I don't understand is now he made it sound like he's frustrated with the boos, even though they didn't boo him for how many years now.
Yeah.
But it's more about I think the selling his soul part and just being desperate for number 17.
Yeah, certainly. It seems like what we're going to get. Their main other focus of tonight, obviously, besides John and Cody's face-to-face under the same roof promo, was on the Intercontinental title. They showed Steamboat and Savage from WrestleMania 3. I know they showed more IC title clips throughout the night, but that's what they showed then. They were really trying to hype up Braun Breaker versus essentially hometown guy Finn Balor. That was going to be a big main event. So next up, we had Ludwig Kaiser come out against Penta. They kind of changed Penta's entrance around a little bit with the intro pyro. They keep tinkering with it each week, it seems like. Eventually, they'll get it to a point where they like it. But this looked the best. This show was very heavily reliant on their drone team, and the shots they got, especially when Raw was first kicking off, looked incredible. Probably one of the best looking Jey Uso entrances because of the way it was shot, the way the building was. It was very big yet claustrophobic at the same time, and the wide angle of the drone just kind of encapsulates seeing everybody, and that many lights and hands going is incredible.
That stuff I like under this new administration. We wouldn't get under the previous. I like all these new camera angles and stuff.
Yeah, they're fun. They're interesting. I like the long shots, the shot reverse shot that we get where you're looking at somebody, but you don't see them both on screen. You get one and the other, then the look back. It just makes it feel more organic, more realistic. And I like, what they did with Carrion later on. There's a lot of building in this episode. You kind of said it earlier. You had a great point. The matches were shorter than usual, unfortunately, but it really today was about building all of the side and mid-class storylines. It felt like they got to build up to the women's IC title. They got to build up to the men's tag titles. All these things that they're trying to continually accomplish. It seems
sometimes Sometimes you need that. Sometimes it's more about just the storytelling itself than the actual in-ring action. And if you're having a good story, it will make a good show. Because what's a wrestling match? Just for what? Wrestling's sake?
Exactly.
If there's those matches, it's just going to be meaningless. So story is key.
Absolutely. And shout out to Chili Cheese J, one of the OGs in the Rumble chat over there. So thank you to the guys checking us out on Rumble. Make sure you go ahead and follow us over there. We'll be live when we're live on YouTube. Again, trying to broaden our horizons. And Ghetto God said, yeah, he just turned it on and got lucky. It was just on. He hated when they have earlier times. I do as well. The only thing I did appreciate for this was the fact that it was live. So I'll give them that. We still got a live match. Even with this being a no-holds-barred match, it was only just shy of 11 minutes. It was like 10:30, 10:40, somewhere around there. They didn't go too far. We got that really good DVD for a 2 count early on. They said that Penta's former TNA and Lucha Underground champion, so it was crazy to hear them say Lucha Underground on TV. We did hear something about WWE wanting to buy Lucha Underground. I don't know if that's been further developed or not. We'll have to check into it, but you know, it was just crazy to hear Michael Cole talk about not even so much TNA anymore. It's still a bit surreal to hear that, but Lucha Underground especially. They're trying to, I mean, I said to you and others earlier, look what they've done for Penta in just 2 months' time that he's been there as compared to 5 years in AEW. This guy is a top-selling merch guy, top draw. People want to see him on TV. They want to hear him speak. They want to cheer him. He's so over, and it was just by the way they presented him. Penta finally picks up the chair, and Kaiser kind of quits. He's like, I give up, you win, but the ref didn't care because right now he grabs a chair away from Penta, and then Penta kicks the chair, then he hits a huge destroyer on the chair, and then the Penta driver for the win. Like the ending, a little bizarre. He was like, I give up, you win, then stole the chair, but hey, whatever, it worked. Backstage, you mentioned, the Judgment Day, having a little bit of issues here.
I thought they were going to turn on Finn Balor tonight. Because if you see in the beginning, Liv's like, I wish Dominic put himself in that Intercontinental Championship match instead of Finn Balor, but I digress. But then she saw Finn walking in, and she's like, oh, Finn, we were just talking about you.
Yeah, so
they were kind of shitting on him when he wasn't.
They're kind of tired of following Finn, it seems, and it looks like Dom kind of wants to take over as the decision maker. So Dom was saying that, I think we should add Penta to the group, and Balor gets upset and says, you want to add someone who wants to go after my Intercontinental title? Even though he hasn't won it yet, he claims it as his own. And he called Dom a snake. He said, Dominic's a snake. And then that's when Dom and Carlito are like, hey, I didn't know he was going to do that. And Carlito's like, you don't watch the show, do you? Funny. But I like the dissension in Judgment Day. It did play in somewhat into the main event, but I think it'll go even further. What do you think? Do you think we could have like Finn versus Dom at Mania? I mean, that might be something they go with. I
feel like that's what they're going with. I don't know about Liv though. Like she just seems like she's just shit talking Finn too much for her to actually just backstab Finn.
Yeah, and especially as you said with the hotel key. Yeah.
The hotel key situation where Finn took it, right?
Yep. Weeks before that, she was in Finn Balor's car before she ever tried to. Yeah, they both got out of the car. You saw them. So Triple H doesn't do these things with nothing in mind. And I'm not saying storylines got dropped, but typically he shows us things that are supposed to happen. We saw on the truck last year, we saw the Legends, we saw Cena, we saw Stone Cold, and that Undertaker spot was added last second because come to find out, hey, it was supposed to be Stone Cold. But now WWE has added Austin to WWE World this year. That's right. He'll be at WrestleMania doing the autograph signings the entire weekend. So
he might come in this time. I wish it was last year. It would have been more meaningful. This year, it kind of feels like more of a we got.
Yeah, like that's kind of it. You're right. It's kind of like a make good. Like, hey, we don't have Undertaker this year, but we got Stone Cold now. Like it's like a consolation prize rather than because Undertaker kind of fit being the sheriff of WWE, but really Stone Cold should have been the one, the anti-authority. It fit in with the storyline, the history of him and The Rock, all of it.
Right.
And now it would make even more sense for him to come to the Cody's Gate again this year after happening last year. So it is disappointing to not have Austin in the mix with the dream last year being accomplished. But the storybook ending is still something great. Obviously, we wanted more, but when would we not? We're wrestling fans.
Sure.
Then we had Dakota Kai taking on Ivy Nile, and I think I sneezed and missed this match. It was very quick.
I was going to ask you because I went to just go get a drink and the match was over, so I missed this match actually.
So they did something a little bit funny. So right when Ivy Nile's about to start the match, then Chad Gable runs out like he's like late for Raw, like, oh God, I forgot you guys started early this week. And he comes to the ring side, and there he is. And in the middle of the match, you had Rey, Mysterio, and Dragon Lee, the LWO. They come out and they take care of the Creeds. They get run off. And that distracts Ivy Nile long enough for Dakota Kai to hit the chick kick there, whatever, the DTK, and pins her. But it was less than 3 minutes. Like, it's super quick, really did nothing for Dakota Kai, and it pretty much made look like Dakota was going to lose until the distraction at the end. So not a great women's match, especially when one of these two are likely going to be the number one contenders for Lyra's IC Females title. It was what it was. It was very quick. I know they're focusing more on Chad and the whole mystery lucha angle thing and everything that's going on there. And it's kind of unfortunate that these two fell to the wayside because of it. But with them having so much time on Netflix, I'm not sure why everything felt so rushed tonight. I will say that.
Did a luchador come out again during a match?
Yes. Yes, later on. So
later on, okay. I wasn't sure. I forgot.
It wasn't during that match, so thankfully not. No, up until that point, it was expected to happen, but we didn't see anyone yet dressed like Chad. So, and Chad Gable, when he came out, had a very recognizable like kind of suit on. It was like blue, kind of not full pinstripe with the white stripes down it. So certainly interesting. After that, we got the women's contract signing for Io Sky and Bianca Belair for WrestleMania. This was very generic and very forward. The two women start bickering back and forth. As Io signs, the crowd chants, "You deserve it," which was nice. Then they said, we're going to find out who I am at Mania. That's what, Bianca Belair says. And she's like, I'm going to be the new world women's champion. People started booing her, which was funny. She signs the contract. And that's when Pierce says it's now official. He thanks them both. And that's when Rhea runs out. And referee, security, everybody's trying to slap her. And she's like, well, Io Sky slapped me last week. And I told you I was going to do something about it, unlike Bianca. And she said, what were you doing? She said, and she's like, well, I'm signing the contract. So she's like, you have no reason to be out here during my match with Sky, just like you have no reason to be out here tonight. And they basically, Io Sky tried to interrupt and get between them two, but Bianca pie faces her. And it just leads to a whole, kerfluffle. Rhea then starts headbutting Bianca, and she falls down. And then Ripley powerbombs Io onto Belair, but the table didn't break. I am the table. So what are you going to do? She picks up the contract, she signs her name, and she walks out. And Corey was like, I don't know if that's legit or not. And I wasn't sure either. But now she added herself to the WrestleMania match.
If that's what works, then the whole women's locker room should line up and sign the contract too, right?
That's what I'm saying. There's some of these things that have a bit of a like a fallacy to them that don't need to be introduced. It's a bit concerning because it feels very, very lackluster. Like
the one that makes no sense then is if Rhea gets a opportunity again, why isn't Liv Morgan getting her rematch? Because they both lost. Liv had a longer title reign. Liv actually has beaten Io, and Rhea has not. So she's in more of a case for a championship match than Rhea.
Exactly. She has far more standing than anyone should be laying claim to. So it's just... It ends up opening too many other doors, too many plot holes. They had a better way to get there. She should have broken up, and Adam Pearce should have been like, I'm sick of this. I don't want to keep dealing with you crashing our party. I'll add you to the match. But this is the last time you can go for the women's title while either of these two are champions. Something like that.
Yeah, you should have done something like that. But I don't know. I think they should have just had a fuck finish with Rhea and Io, and Rhea retains, because now it doesn't make sense, because you're just going back on okay, so she's the only one that gets rematch clauses.
Yeah. And I know they've strayed away from guaranteed rematches and whatnot smartly, but it's like, what to do next? Really, that's the
Even Io,
problem.
though, that I think about it, I'm back and forth with Io. Sure, I love Io, but like, she's just thrown in there randomly because people just wanted it. Like, she didn't really
People
make sense.
wanted her to have the title, and if she loses at Mania, then she's losing a second year in a row. She loses
I
her
think
belt last year to Bayley, now this year to Rhea or Bianca.
this just shows that maybe Io shouldn't have been involved. And if there was going to be a triple threat, I think, again, not because I'm a big Liv fan, just storyline wise, it makes sense. It should have been Rhea, Liv, Io.
Yeah, no
That,
doubt. Or I mean, you could have even made it Bianca having to deal with Naomi and Jade and had a
yeah,
three-way,
like that.
four-way there. Something I don't know. Like
Bianca should be involved in that stuff instead of this.
I'm never
Also,
crazy about triple threats. Fatal four
it's
ways
all
work better than triple threats, but triple threats because you always have one odd man out, odd woman out, however you want to put it, and it typically takes a lot to suspend disbelief. But I don't want to always just see somebody sleeping, waiting for their moment either. Hopefully, they can find a way to make this exciting, but. Right now, I liked Io standing up for herself. I mean, that's not bad, but we're not really like in love with her as a champion because she only won one match to get the title, and she wasn't really doing shit before it. So she just was a non-factor, got the title just to tell a story about Bianca and Rhea, not Io. So
it's going to be a banger triple threat match, but it just seems like a world title match where none of these women even made sense in the first place to even be there.
yeah, yeah, Rhea lost her belt. Bianca really shouldn't have. She won the chamber, sure, but
Getting championship matches for reasons.
yeah.
So here's another thing. People had to fight in an elimination chamber to get a shot, but Io's just handed a shot.
Yeah, because she got taken, out of the competition, and Liv got sent in, so that was Rhea's, consequence. And I mean, sure, if you want to talk about her having consequences to her actions, fine. But then she's rewarded by being in the triple threat match for Mania, so she's not really dealing with the consequences. She might have lost her title, but she's got a chance to get it back.
And I like Rhea Ripley, but it's back to these generic. I'm doing this because I'm Rhea Bloody Ripley.
Yes,
And
I'm gonna do as I want. Damn it.
That. But like, I like that backstage segment we had a few weeks ago. That was so fucking good. And then they just did away with that. Last week they made no sense of it. It's like blaming everyone else again when previously she was blaming herself, saying I'm so stupid and all frustrated.
Exactly. We had that amazing promo of her after Raw being, saying that she's isolated. I'm isolated. I isolated myself. I'm isolated from others. I screwed up. I have to suffer the consequences of my decisions, my actions. My anger got the best of me, and now I have no one, no thing, and nowhere. She's like, I'm alone.
She's the heel here. Is she not the heel?
She should be essentially, but
Yeah.
it doesn't work. They're all faces. That's part of the problem here. It's
another issue with Roman, Punk, and Seth. They're all faces now too, right?
Yes, and that's what makes this kind of muddy because Roman didn't really do anything to become face. He just went away for a while. He didn't apologize to the Usos and anybody else in the bloodline. He didn't make anything right. He came back. He wanted his tribal chief Ulafala back, so he got into every fight he could while having other people come and fight on his side. But he hasn't helped anybody in his own way. So
it's like the same character, but the good guys are aligning him with him now.
Yeah, so he never came out and made attempts to make apologies or like, I'm sorry, I was drunk with power and I treated you too. Nothing. So for him to be a face is still kind of bizarre to me. It is unsettling.
Yeah.
Seth,
he just
randomly
beat face.
Besides having them do the O's in the audience for 20 minutes straight, I felt like Seth was just kind of whining. It wasn't a bad promo, but I don't know. It didn't feel like Seth was going to win last week. It felt like Seth was going to lose regardless, and Roman saved his ass by pulling him out of there. So
here's what I'm confused about.
Another non-factor. Like Coot said, like Deborah in the My Way promo. Non-factor, indeed.
Like Royal Rumble, I texted you right when Seth started beating the shit out of Punk and Roman. I'm like, oh, they turned Seth heel. That's what I thought anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Then you're like, yeah, he needs to be a heel. I think Seth's better as a heel anyways than babyface. Maybe that's a hot take, but I always
No,
prefer
I
him.
agree. I mean, him as a face to me has always been just very bland. It's the same thing. It's just the chants of his music at this point, and fans are hung up on that, but not much else. It's just not working.
We have 2 triple threat matches where everyone in it is a face. Thankfully, they turned Cena heel because we were going to have face versus face for every fucking match.
Yeah. But right now it feels like that, except for Gunther and Jay. Everybody else is on the good side.
Because there's potentially Braun versus Penta, and they're both baby faces.
Yep. And Braun being a babyface is kind of an odd thing. The crowd just likes him. They're just cheering for him. WWE forgets to turn people sometimes. So after that match, this is where after the little skirmish we had with Rhea Ripley in the women's triple threat at Mania, we had Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee come back out, and they were taking on the Creed brothers, who they kind of ran off earlier in the night.
Okay, is this where the...
Yes. So we go ahead and, they basically just very straightforward match. Nothing great here. The Creeds are just kind of bashing them around, and then all of a sudden Rey gets put down by Julius with a big DDT, and Dragon Lee gets Brutus off the apron with a big Hurricane Rana, and Rey goes up top, but then Julius jumps straight up to the top of the ropes and catches him and throws him. It was great. Rey shoves Brutus down, then he hit him with a 619, so I was like, oh, cool. Rey dropped a dime on Julius before pinning him, so that was cool, and then they get the win. So I was like, where's the interference going to be? They lost clean here. How, after the match, now we get the American mask wearing man, Lucha, whatever. They attacked Rey and Dragon Lee and then left them, lying there. And then the mystery Lucha man in his suit, he basically just go ahead and just runs off by being chased by security. I mean, I guess it's supposed to be Chad because it had the same outfit on, but they did the same thing last week with the, obviously the false accusation. And we saw him behind him. He was vindicated. See, that's the person being thrown out. It wasn't me. It's silly, but I'm curious where they're going to go from here. Originally, I thought it was going to involve Aleister Black, but it seems like Aleister Black is going to be on SmackDown. We kind of have a few things. Yeah, we have a few things pointing us that way. So we got vignettes on SmackDown. One was definitely Rey Fenix. The other one was a 4 engulfed in smoke. Very ominous. So we brought this up during the Sacrifice TNA pay-per-view review the other night with Spaz, which go check out Spaz Phoenix on YouTube. He's on Rumble. He's on Apple Podcasts. Everywhere you can find us in audio form, search for Spaz Phoenix. And I guest with him on The State of Wrestling. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. But yeah, Cody and I were talking before, and we said, hey, this is kind of this vignette they're showing. It could be for the return of the Wyatt Six because it's just Black Smoke, number 4. But I felt like this more aligned with Black. We know, obviously, who he's married to. Zelina Vega was moved from Raw to SmackDown recently. They took her out of the storyline, took her out of the LWO, and just planted her over. Transplant quick.
What was that for? Going heel or something?
I don't know what they wanted, but they just moved her over suddenly without justification, and the only reason they would do that is to keep husband and wife together. So maybe they're making plans now for her in the future.
Aleister Black would have maybe been a good fit for like the Judgment Day or something.
Could have been, but it seems like it's going to be him coming in. And whether it's the 4th, meaning, April 4th that we get something, or is it like 4 more weeks? It depends on what the vignette turns into next. Because 4/4 is a Friday, and that is SmackDown Live. So April 4th, maybe it means with the 4. We don't know. There's a lot of explaining to do. But it seems like it's going to be Aleister Black, and that's why they moved Zelina Vega, so husband and wife could be together on SmackDown.
Which
Seems to make sense.
I feel like maybe he fit better on Raw because I was saying like with like he would have been good with the Judgment Day or have been for whatever reason Chad Gable's whatever trainer, I guess.
Yes.
But so Zelina, I don't understand why she moved to SmackDown at all. That seemed like a Vince McMahon kind of decision.
I think it's just because her husband's going to be over there, and they knew that, so they did it ahead of time so they can keep them together. They try and keep husband and wives usually working under the same brand, so this way they can travel together. So it seems like maybe they knew, hey, Aleister's coming, so we want to put her over there now so we can fit her into storylines rather than have to do it later.
They could have done better with that, with like the trades or whatever going on during Raw and SmackDown. They could have just
Yeah.
moved American Made in LWO also all over with them, and
They
you
could
could
have
have
done
had
a lot of things differently, which is kind of the theme of this. But Coots got a point in the chat. He says, with Seth ever babyface, his outfit screamed boomy. Yeah, they certainly have an air of heel to him and his wardrobe. But Seth, at least he's entertaining. I'll give him that much. I'm not sure if it's Gable in the mask, or they just want us to think that it is, and the whole time it ends up being him. Like,
last week.
gotcha.
Like the facial features, it didn't look like him in that match when he.
No, it looked more like Ray Phoenix in the match interfering last time, I said, than anybody else. And now, I don't know, it was kind of quick. Definitely didn't look like the stature of Chad at all, or the body type, any of it.
And how he said thank you, it didn't sound like his voice.
No. So
watched TV because I couldn't tell when I was there, but like I watched it back on TV, it sounded like more of an accent. Thank you.
It really did. It really had that kind of feel to it. So then we had, Seth Rollins, as we just mentioned, Mr. Boomy, comes out and cuts a decent promo. He talks about how he's Monday Night Rollins and it's his world and blah, 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 and starts to talk about CM Punk, and he's like, we'll get to him, but I want to get to Roman first. Now the crowd is chanting OTC. So as you said, they're not booing Roman's name, they're not booing Punk, and they're not booing Seth. They're cheering everybody. So who are they going to root for in the end? It makes it confusing, and it muddies the waters for fans, I feel like.
All baby faces again.
Especially when it's a three-way. Like, it's different when you had Seth's fans and Punk's fans, but like, all right, they kind of outweighed on the Punk side. So with this, you got three of the biggest names, but especially Roman, so a lot of heavy hitters there. And he said that he's going to go and head to Italy when the crowd, he's like, Brussels has been great, but he's going to head over there so he can be live on SmackDown. And he's like, why should I let them have all the fun? So he's like, Reigns and Punk will be in the same place this time on Friday. I'll be there too. And then we heard him, get sung out to his song again. But that was a long-winded promo to just say tune in Friday.
Oh, yeah. I think they could have done like a backstage segment.
They could have done a backstage segment, like you said, and then have him come out to sing with the live crowd afterwards. This, especially because, all right, already we've kind of had an issue where we've lost Cody as well, but we've gone ahead and we lost, a good amount of time dedicated to this promo, and it's just continually dragging on when all the other matches are very, very short and everything kind of feels rushed at this point in time. So let's go ahead and try and get him back. We'll see if it works. But in the meantime, we'll try and get it to fix. Go ahead and call back, bud. Technical hang-ups. But all in all, like I said, Seth wasn't really exciting here. I had hoped for a while that, what's going on, Paul? Good to see you in the chat. I had hoped that they would do more to turn Seth either heel or just give us something more to bite onto with this. Because right now, it makes sense that Punk's pissed. He lost the match the other night, and he's got severe hatred from Roman already. Now this just really justifies him wanting to kick his ass. But what else does Punk have to do with Seth? It doesn't feel like that's anything but an already foregone conclusion. So I don't know. We'll try and see what happens in the long run while we pull up Skype. Skype's going the way of the dinosaur and the dodo bird very soon, so we got to switch everything to Discord as we try and get Cody back, but it doesn't seem like it wants to go. Let me go ahead and shut off my Skype and take it. We'll put it back on in a second and let him call back. But while we're doing that, we finally then got right into the main event, and that was pretty much it. So they have a quick little thing backstage with AJ Styles. He's being interviewed by Kathy in the back, and Karrion Kross comes over and basically starts to talk up Logan Paul. He's like, not for nothing, but I just want to point out, hey, you now have had this career for a long time, and Logan accomplished everything in record time, and he just managed to go ahead and really start to take off quickly. So how are you not jealous of him? Is that what this is about? And AJ's like, this isn't going to work. I know what you're doing. I know what you're trying. This is not going to work for me. and cat knocked the Wi-Fi out. Oh no, that's kind of hilarious and terrible at the same time. When you're back, let me know. Shoot me a message. Uh, damn pussies, always getting in the way. So I like the crowd singing AJ here, and I like what Cross is doing, being this just malevolent force in the back, screwing with people's heads, kind of like the devil, but not quite. It's a very interesting, enigmatic version of him that I really want to see more of. I don't want to just see these little backstage things that aren't building towards anything. I think it's time to really set him into motion. Supposedly they have big plans for him coming up. We'll see what comes of it, but Cross is damn good on the mic. I always enjoyed him in the ring. I mean, I enjoyed him as Killer Cross. I like him as Carrion. What he did in NXT, I like the cross jacket finisher. I think there's a lot to do with him. Then we get our main event. So Braun Breaker and Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. Chad Patton's our referee. Alicia Taylor does the 8K camera ring introductions, and we got a really hot start here. Sling Blade clothesline takes him out to ringside. Breaker's on his ass, and we go right into the first commercial break. When we come back, we see Dom finally coming out to ringside, and they're just kind of trading for a bit. Balor hits a great inverted DDT, gets a 2 count, near fall there. And that's when Balor starts to say, why is Dom there? We hear him talk for a second, and while his focus is away, Breaker gets a clothesline on Balor, and that's when Balor rolls to the outside, and all of a sudden he jumps. Braun Breaker comes off the frickin' apron and clotheslines Balor, causing both of them to tumble over the broadcast table. Bodies everywhere, people are flying. Now Carlito's at ringside too, so it kind of seems like, oh, it's a plan. They're here to suck up to Balor. They're here to help. But so Carlito, tries to distract the referee. You see Breaker, he's back in the ring. He's got a little bit of blood coming out of his mouth, and he's starting to get hurt. Breaker tries to set Balor up, but all of a sudden, like I said, Carlito gets a distraction, and Dom goes off, tries to get Braun Breaker. He pushes him off the ropes, but Dom accidentally caused Balor to crotch himself on the ropes, right down onto the turnbuckle. And that's when Breaker capitalizes, hits the Frankensteiner, hits the spear, pins him. 1, 2, 3. 12 minutes, 30 seconds later, and that's when Dom and Carlito, they rush into action. Finn loses, but they're not going to let him just lay there and take it. They start beating the hell out of Braun Breaker, and it's a numbers game until the next challenger appears. That's right, it's Penta. Cero Miedo. He's doing a little too much of that, but we go ahead. We get him running down, and he saves Braun Breaker. He picks up the title belt. He looks at it, and he gives it back to Braun, who then looks at Penta, and he holds the belt up. Then Penta does his again. Cero Miedo. Hand gesture, and we'll see when they meet. It seems like they are definitely setting up for a multi-man match. And, that's kind of what everybody thought. That's what's on everybody's mind. But is it going to be what exactly happens? Because there's a lot of people that aren't doing anything in this mid-card at Mania. We've got Sheamus. We got Braun Breaker, obviously. He's the champ. Who else do we have? We've got Penta. We've got Finn Balor. We've got Ludwig Kaiser. Sami Zayn is apparently still injured, but would be a good addition to that one. Injured, kayfabe injured. It's certainly, building towards something. We've got a few weeks left to go, obviously, till Mania. Time will tell. But all in all, not a bad Monday Night Raw. I appreciate that it was live. The opening, as far as heel John Cena and Cody Rhodes, the ultimate babyface, face-to-face, hitting each other with barbs, and John just speaking candidly and so open and honestly, expressing his disappointment and anger. It was really unfortunate, and I don't want to see John too much focused on the fans. I don't want to see him just be like, oh, all of your reaction is not working. So let's see if we could try this here. We'll see if we can take this call from Cody and if he can hear us. Can you hear us, my good man?
I don't know what happened there.
That's
The
all right.
cat knocked down the Wi-Fi, and
Little pussies just
so I had
interrupting
to
our
use
feed. You got to go with the mobile. That's all right. We're glad to have you back.
this
But
now.
hey, it works. You know, like I said, I don't want Cena to focus on just being
Can you
like
hear me?
these. Yes, I can hear you. I don't want Cena to be focusing on everybody. Let's see. Can you hear me? Is the question. Maybe not. Do. Come on, settings. But we'll figure it out. There we go. There we go. All right. Now you
All
should be
right,
able to
now I
hear
can
me.
hear you. All right.
All right. Perfect. But you know, we're fixing on the fly. Yeah, I don't want John Cena to focus just on the fans and be like these idiots, these bastards. They you know, I don't want to do that typical you guys thing that the heels tend to do. It does work in this instance, but there's so much more. There's other levels and layers to a heel John Cena that I want to see them touch on. And I do hope eventually we do, in fact, get a different theme and merch and all that, selfishly.
Oh, me too.
Because I understand what they're going for by saying, I'm not giving it to you. I'm not allowing you to have me change. You don't deserve it.
But
I appreciate it, but I
I don't
still
think it
feel
feels
like it,
fitting for him.
yeah, it should be more selfish, more cantankerous, more wanting. He should want a new theme because the fans that did embrace him with that one, he doesn't want to give him anything of the former John. I don't know. It feels a bit redundant. Like, hey, we get to call him evil, but we're going to keep everything else the same, so we can still sell the same leftover merch, and so we can still push the. And some people will still like him that are young. Like, I don't know if they're fully 100% with the heel turn, turning that switch all the way to 11, but they need to crank this up. Him picking on the kids and telling them, you know, basically you are part of my. Toxic relationship, and I'm breaking up with you. Mwah, beautiful touch. Bringing up that young boy that looked truly devastated was a great editing moment, director's moment live. But I don't know. I was very happy with the promo. I just want to see where they go with it from here. I'll be a little bit hesitant. I just don't want to see him blame the fans for everything. I want to hear more motivations from John than just you people. We'll see what happens.
The my time is now song does not fit heel Cena.
No,
I
not
don't
at
know.
all.
The song just doesn't go.
Yeah, it doesn't work. The hustle, loyalty, respect side of it needs to be eradicated. They need to desperately start over. Next week on Raw, we're also hearing that they're going to have a tag team match, as we said before. You were kind of throwing out ideas. Who do we think will be Jey Uso's partner? People are throwing all sorts of names out there. And we're going to see both A-Town down. So we've got Austin Theory and Grayson Waller taking on Jey Uso. You said it might be Jimmy, which obviously reuniting the Usos before Gunther, that wouldn't be the worst thing. Make them a unified front. But I tend to think it's going to be somebody else. I, and a few others agree with me on Twitter, think it might be Joe Hendry.
Oh, really?
Raw this coming Monday is going to be taking place in Hendry's home country of Scotland.
Oh, that is right. So you might be onto something.
Oi. Yeah, and Joe Hendry then tweeted out last night, or excuse me, this evening. Sorry, I'm thinking it's nighttime still because Raw is in the afternoon, messing me up. So he tweeted out earlier, say his name and he appears. And Grayson Waller commented underneath it saying, dies from cringe. So interesting to see Hendry throw his name out there already. And one of the two opponents go ahead and mention him. So cool to have that shown on Wrestle Talk. But it is interesting. I am a huge fan of Joe Hendry. I've liked him for a long time now. I loved what he was doing in ICW, coming up with silly parodies and all that stuff for people's entrance themes and songs. And he was good in the ring. He was good on the mic. I knew for a while, this is before he had blonde hair, that he was going to be a damn big star. And I'm glad they're going full steam ahead with him. One of the things that I was curious about as well is wrestlers being financially compensated for the cross promotion. So when Joe Hendry comes to WWE, when the Hardys come to NXT, when Obafemi goes to TNA, are they just being paid their normal contract, or are they getting bonuses or double pay, or how does this work? And come to find out, Wrestling Inc. reported that whether you're working NXT or TNA, you get what you receive in your contract, but then you're getting a bonus for all talents or additional pay for being on additional shows. So it says Sean Ross Sapp answered that question saying that NXT and TNA wrestlers receive extra pay when they make an appearance on the opposite brand. So that's great to hear. So not only are they getting their normal contract pay, but they're also being, compensated for working extra. So that's great to hear. One of the things not great, depending on how you want to look at it, is the price of tickets for the WWE Hall of Fame. Absolutely disgusting. We were looking at this earlier, and it was just alarming at how some of the packages were going for upwards of $10,000. And basically what it included was your seat, I think a shirt, some type of autograph, and you got to meet Michelle McCool, Triple H, and Lex Luger, and that was $10,000. Just absolutely insane, really, honestly. I know Liz commented on a tweet that I put out earlier, but Mr. Santi Zap was doing a little bit of a test himself. So he went to SmackDown in Toronto, and he bought the cheapest, quote-unquote, worst seat in the house to see, what would he be able to see, how much would it cost, and just the astronomical prices. So for him to sit in the very last row of the arena in the cheapest seat was almost $100 for this ticket that used to go for a 4-pack for $20. So, I mean, I know TKO is being exceptionally greedy, and they want to keep crushing these arbitrary gate numbers. But really, it should be still about attendance, not how much money we brought in when you're charging triple for everything. I mean, these prize packages, and we were once a few days talking about the Hulk Hogan themed package for $10,000 at WrestleMania. So for one night, not both nights of Mania, it was $9,500. Your seat was in a luxury suite. You got food and beverages, obviously. You got a Hulk Hogan souvenir. You got to go to the Top Golf event hosted by The Miz, for that weekend, and a meet and greet with Hogan himself, $10,000. No one was buying, so they added both nights of Mania to the package. Still, no one was buying. Now they dropped the price to $6,950. So the sales have been extremely lackluster, and the company is worried about being unable to offload these tickets with just a month to go to WrestleMania. So the prices keep getting slashed. Scott Steiner calling him a motherfucker might be onto something. Hogan left a bunch of kids crying at a meet and greet for his Real American Beer lunch in New York. I saw that over the weekend. The kids were cutting promos on him because he just left before they actually finished the allotted number of autographs, terrible as that is.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the business side of WWE not firing on all cylinders, very greedy. You hear the talent is happy, but all of the corporate side of things, all of the office staff, the ones that book all the flights and book all the arenas and order the merch and get the stuff done and ship things everywhere, they're getting less, less promised packages, less raises. They're not getting offered tickets anymore. Just the compensation is out the window. So they're feeling very overworked and just not appreciated, undervalued. And I can't say I blame them. It's certainly a very cantankerous relationship to be in. And the merger was kind of scary because they made a lot of people feel like they were replaceable. And unfortunately, that kind of seems to be the grind of the wheel at this point. But I'm still hung up on, like you said earlier, Cena. I'm not a babyface. I'm not a heel. I'm a human being. Hell of an opening promo. I don't want to sound like I didn't enjoy it. I do love the opening to the show. I just don't want to see John reliably hate on the fans week after week. So I am a bit, concerned, but it's very minute. Do you have any other takeaways from Raw, Cody? What are some other thoughts you have about tonight's show or this afternoon show?
I thought it was a good show. I thought I understand why the matches were short. I see a lot of people complaining, but again, as I said before, story is key. Sometimes you need better story-driven shows than pro wrestling shows. Yeah. That's where AEW fails to realize. I know I always do it, but You can get mad, I don't care. But that's why AEW isn't doing good, because they just focus on good matches and no story. Story is key in that shows.
You brought up AEW, and one of the things I wanted to mention, I know you did as well, is House of Glory this weekend. They had their next big show and their main
St.
event.
Patrick's Day, Hornswoggle.
Yeah.
Oh, the other midget. My bad.
Yeah, they had the City of Dreams show. So the main event on March 15th, 2 nights ago, in New York City was Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks, taking on the recently let go Indy Hartwell. So a big match for her. And we heard that House of Glory basically removed JD from commentary right before the Mercedes main event, and he was not able to call the main event. And come to find out, she basically had him removed due to comments he said about her online and critiquing her wrestling. And I feel like he let it be known, like, hey, I'm not talking about Mercedes the person. I'm talking about you as the wrestler and you as, the talent. And I think some of those things can get lost in the shuffle. I know him and Alexa had bad heat with the cold as a fish just lie there comments, and those were a bit uncalled for. But he's not going after personal character here. He calls her soft for it.
As much as I don't like him, he is on record saying that she is one of the best of all time.
Yeah, no kidding.
He did say that.
Not that he's always right, but he's certainly not wrong in a lot of the things he's said about AEW. I don't want to dislike the product. I don't want to be a hater. I don't want to be labeled as such. I just want them to put on something that's interesting and compelling. There is not an iota of me that is looking forward to Dynamite at all this week. But Raw, I couldn't wait to see. And they made the best idea having it overseas. They delayed John Cena's, heel first promo until they got here because they knew the audience would give them that perfect blockbuster reaction. And that's exactly what we got from top to bottom.
Speaking about Little Man, I'm kidding. JD from New York. I guess he's going at it with Ricochet, I hear.
Yeah, well, because Ricochet went ahead and just was like, kind of vanity tweeting about it. And so somebody said House of Glory did the right thing and kicked JD from New York off of commentary before the match for Mercedes. And Ricochet quote tweeted that and said, ha, ha, ha. So someone online said that the AEW wrestlers are soft, can't handle the truth. And Ricochet said, your opinions suck ass more than the Cowboys. So somebody else had said to him, would it be better if you only listened to what the fans want instead of mocking people that are honest about AEW? So Ricochet said, I listened to our fans, every single one of them. All of them are important to AEW. However, there's a difference between a fan with real criticisms and a dumb shit idiot who just wants to spread unnecessary hate. Learn the two. I don't think JD wants to just spread unnecessary hate. JD comments back here by saying, tell Trevor that I was a real fan and that he is late to the party with grossly over-exaggerated misinformation. He said, you don't listen to your fans. You live in a bubble where nothing is wrong and everything is great. Ding. You all hate your fans, and the company shuns genuine concern and criticism to appease one man.
That's true.
Hopes this helps. And he's not wrong. I mean, love or hate
Sure.
JD, he's in the right there. Really, they're not listening to fans, or they would have ended or at least revived and revised this terrible, Bryan Danielson death and the rise of the, Death Riders. They would have revived Bryan by now, and they would have completely revised or just eliminated the Death Riders angle. It's not working. It started with intrigue behind it. People were curious, is this going to deal with Shane McMahon? Is there going to be someone else taking over the company? And then it just went nowhere. It's just week after week of heat, beating down the babyface, beating down the babyface, beating down the babyface, throwing him downstairs, throwing him through a window, smashing him with a chair, beating him. It's just been heat.
The only fans they listen to are the ones that are tribalists that will say, yes, AEW had a great show.
Yeah, we reviewed Revolution. We gave them good marks. That cage match was very entertaining. But I felt like the women's match, the hardcore match, went too far and into the ridiculous territory, especially with the champagne glass and the tape and the vagina punch and all that bullshit. But because they were bleeding so much. By the time we got to the men's cage, it was like been there, done that. He's not wrong. They are keeping that like you said, that echo chamber alive and just focusing on what those sickos say that they want. Unfortunately,
And like when I came on the Revolution pay-per-view review after Spaz left, right?
yeah,
I said, watch on Dynamite. Sure, it was a great show tonight, but I worry that they don't follow through with it. And sure as shit, they don't follow through.
they didn't follow through hardly with anything. The show was more about a mid card title than anything else. And now we're worried about the international title again, and who cares? That's the thing, And
AEW has too many championships.
Yeah, and in a way, this Raw kind of felt mid card centric. We ended with the mid card title, and as far as big names goes, we got Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee in that tag match that was short, and Jey Uso against Austin Theory. That went 30 seconds, so literally 30 seconds. Everything else was super quick, and so I could see why people would be somewhat underwhelmed with Raw. But they advanced multiple stories, they kept multiple things going, and they gave you a reason to tune in not just Friday but next Monday as well. I don't want to be. I'm not trying to be divisive and in any sort of way. But is there anything worthwhile for me on Dynamite this week? I can't think of anything that's like must see or that I should absolutely tune in for.
I don't have anything. What have they announced?
Very little, and that's usually the problem as well. WWE does a good job typically about letting you know what's to come, what's coming up going forward. Hey, this is what we've got going on Friday.
Pursuing.
And Kaylee, kind of see what happens going forward at each part, but we'll see what happens as far as this upcoming, SmackDown. But I like the headline so far. New report reveals Aleister Black expected return date. This is on Sports Illustrated. So they say here, WWE is apparently on the verge of adding a couple major talents. This I touched on before. We did say Rey Fenix, but then we also saw that creepy smoke with the number 4 coming up in the middle. So we kind of hear footsteps. We see the number 4, hear a little bit of ominous music, and it goes to black. So apparently it's got something to do with Aleister Black. I'm excited. Again, it gives us something else to look forward to on Friday besides Ms. TV and things of the such. So I'm happy with what we're getting from WWE now, but JD's not wrong. AEW has been in a bad way for quite some time now, and I want them to be more than a T-shirt company, but they're not even selling their T-shirts properly. They don't even like Sid said, they don't even advertise. Their their pro wrestling tees part of it for anything.
Crazy is some WWE house shows that they do outdraw AEW pay-per-views.
Yes, and Spaz has had all of the numbers for the attendance going in a spreadsheet for this year, and pretty much everything just house show related has beat AEW, if not TV shows, pay-per-views as well.
Truly not good, incredible. And people will say, "Oh, you're just a hater." Like JD's former co-host Andrew Baydala is his name.
I'm not sure. I forget his name, but
yeah, but like I see his like AEW reviews all the time. Like last week, he said AEW, like he's afraid to, because I guess he gets like media passes to do like the press conferences and stuff, so he's afraid to
say anything negative.
Yeah, so even then he's like, I thought tonight was an okay show. He never goes with it was a poor show, it was a bad show.
One thing I will say, John Cena and all of them, they've been great about always sticking to their laurels and their morals. WWE, they if we said anything bad, they were like, okay, if you said anything, I'm not saying, go crazy, but if you said negative stuff, I didn't like this night, I have real criticism, they weren't going to block you from it at that point. So
yeah, they AEW will instantly ban you from existence in their company if you
sadly they'll do it before you even have a chance.
You should see, like, they all come in like a mob, like the AEW roster, like they come at you. Like Tony Khan's come at me before for just giving constructive criticism. So it's not anything.
Well, it's funny because Paul said JD's freaking out in his stream right now, saying people got him off commentary. I mean, people don't like the truth, and he tells it often. You're right about that, and I don't know. I fail to see how it isn't either a bunch of people complaining or Mercedes herself. You know, that really seems to be what came of it. So
Like he says criticism, and then she's fucking around with his job. Not cool.
exactly. So I don't know. We hear that they might have more plans for a potential bloodline members being added. I mean, because we still have Hikuleo and Lance Anoa'i have yet to make an on-screen debut. So Hikuleo last wrestled June 9th, 2024, when they lost the IWGP Tag Team titles. He's been on WWE's internal roster for like 7 months at this point, but main roster creative sources has confirmed his signing, but he was not initially included in creative plans. Dave Meltzer says that he's in the system, not injured, and is expected to debut in NXT after completing his training. So, and then as for Lance, I guess he's absent because he sustained an injury shortly after signing, and that's keeping him sidelined to at least half of the year this year. So I guess we'll see both of them debut eventually, but besides that, really just not much on the news front tonight. All in all, I'd probably give this Raw like a 7.5. It really was entertaining. It moved by lightning fast.
Good
I will
pacing.
say that. Yeah,
Good pacing.
they were very steady about it.
I say 7.5 around there. Great pacing, great story-driven show, and I don't always account pro wrestling matches because that's not what this is about. This is one thing Vince was right about, but he just didn't book it correctly.
Yeah.
It's mainly sports entertainment. Sports entertainment will always beat pro wrestling, and that's just a fact.
It will, because I mean, you can get a bigger reaction, like Enzo used to said. You know, he's like, "Oh, I watch the guys at NXT damn near kill themselves sometimes on the independents, but I just shuffle my feet and how you doing, and I get a bigger reaction than they do." And he's right. He's absolutely right. You know, people are killing themselves diving through 3 tables to get a quarter of the reaction that some people get just holding up a microphone or going yeet. You know, it's the truth. So I do understand the sports entertainment argument of it, and they're absolutely right. It needs to be considered. WWE tends to lean too heavy either which way at times, and that's why I feel like they've really gotten themselves into like a good flow with this 5-match, 1 segment, get in, get out, done 3-hour format that they've pretty much nailed down. It makes whatever is on the card elevated and feel important because there's not 9 matches where only 2 are important. It's all 5. Everyone is there with some significance, some story, some element, some future potential. There's something there for and there's something there for everyone. Yeah,
can't fit everything on the PLE pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. So for Raw and SmackDown, they will build like tag team title matches, a women's intercontinental championship match, a women's United States championship match, or what else do they do? Like an intercontinental championship match tonight. See, they have stuff important for just the regular weekly shows.
Yeah, they're building up, like you said, for the women's IC title. They're, you know, for Lyra to have an opponent. They're having people, you know, defend their mid card title as Braun Breaker did, and they're trying to have tag matches to eventually determine who's going to be going up for the tag titles. So we've got a lot to build towards for Mania still.
Sometimes, mind you, I wish that the men's intercontinental championship was defended more often on PLEs than it really is, but I digress. But.
Well, see, that's the other aspect of that 5-match card that they have. It in part of it, it's great because you get those things, everything's important, but the fact that there are only 5 available spots leads to a lot of things not always making it, and some things that are super important, or at least more important, don't always get placed on the card above other things. And it's not always out of fairness either. It is like whatever narrative or story they're trying to push. But there's been times
the most important aspects of the show.
Yeah, they've had white hot angles that they've not featured on the show simply because. So
sometimes, to be fair though, that they've had matches on Raw and SmackDown that should have been on the PLE rather than matches that were on PLE.
I'm just happy we're getting to a time where, and I hope they do it eventually when Cody's no longer the champion, where we get a title change on Raw or SmackDown for the main title, because I want that state to return where it feels like anything can happen at any point.
Yeah, because like if they're too afraid to change one of the world titles on a Raw or SmackDown, some people will be like, "Oh, I'm not going to miss anything."
Exactly. They used to do it, and it was like, oh my god, that's why everybody had to flip the channel from Nitro to see Mick Foley win because it was monumental. And then right after he lost it to The Rock again, then he won it back. Then The Rock had it again, and then The Rock was defending against Austin at Mania, and c'est la vie.
It's
I don't
okay to
want it to be
hot
total
potato
hot
a
potato,
title.
but yeah, it's okay now and then. Like I don't want to see it where when they first had the women's red title, the world title against instead of the Divas title, and they did the thing where it was like Sasha Charlotte Bailey, like they went back and forth through everybody, and it was like, all right, you don't need the two titles to be hot potato, but let's have them defended, and every now and again, let's have a title change. And they've done that. They've done that on Raw. We've seen new IC titles. We've seen new tag champs. We've seen it on SmackDown with new tag
Like
champs too.
when Jay
New
wins the world
US
title, I
champ
can
the
see
other night.
them playing with that. Like when Jay wins the world title, I can see maybe them playing with that, maybe a little hot potato with it, because I don't think he's going to be a long-term champion.
I don't think so either, but we'll see what comes of it, and that wouldn't be the worst idea. And for a while, they've been stuck, again, pigeonholed into a corner where, like, Roman couldn't lose. He had to hold on to it for a while. And then once they got to the point where he couldn't lose, it was because, this has to go to Cody, but that's a year and a half away. We've got to get through this Mania. He's got to lose. He's got to build up again, win the Rumble again. And then, so Roman had to, in his mind, no, I'm keeping this belt for the next 14 months until. So you knew that belt wasn't going anywhere. We had a few times where you kind of were like, I think Clash at the Castle with Drew, and maybe when he faced Sammy in Montreal, like those were the two moments you were like, could he lose the title? But you pretty much knew he was going to retain, and eventually Cody would dethrone him. Now with Cody, they don't want to make him lose on just a SmackDown show or a Raw show, and I get that, but maybe when he's no longer the champ or they get past Mania, they could do that, because I want them to have these must-see angles again. Like you said, there's a reason that we have to tune in to watch it live, because, you don't want to see this in recap form. You want to see it when it happens. Just like that Cena heel turn was history. And I love having the memory of, Patrick and I together both be, oh my God, Spaz getting to be there, you getting to go to Monday to React, like everything being set up. Was to have that special feeling. So I just want them to hit on that in every way possible, really. I like the way that they're choosing to deliver. I just want to see them be consistent with it.
Me too. I think that
have been.
It would be better for shock value.
Yeah, and I think that if they could go ahead and keep having new title changes, occasionally, not having them defended on these PLEs, I don't think would be as much of a loss or as impactful. Like the tag team titles on Raw feel virtually non-existent, and they have one of the better teams too in the War Raiders, and we see them maybe once a month. It feels like.
It feels like sometimes WWE gets like a little fearful of doing this, where they only think big title changes need to happen at WrestleMania or SummerSlam.
Yeah, and since they've gotten away with that, we saw Nakamura lose the other night. We've seen the tag titles change. We've seen quite a few things, but I'd still like to see it happen with a couple of the men's titles too, the main men's titles. We saw Rhea lose her title. Obviously to Io, that was a huge shock. If they can do it with the women's, why can't they do it with the men's?
I think that's fair. That's a fair take on it. But.
Absolutely. They're bringing back Evolution, and as much as I was in love with the first Evolution, Spaz put out, and make sure you check out his YouTube channel to see this upload. He took his take on Evolution, and I don't want to take too much from him, but basically he's got a really great point in that it's not needed because we have equality. You don't need an all-women's show, just like you don't need an all-men's show, and I see his point. I don't think it's a bad thing to showcase women's wrestling on a national stage, certainly, but I get where he's coming from and what he's trying to say, in that it's no longer needed. The women are equal with the men, essentially. They've been in the main events. They've been equally booked at Manias and so on.
Yeah.
I think we're finally at that point where things are advancing enough on both sides that it is equal.
Rumble winners too, like they automatically think it has to be Cody, Cena, Jay, Gunther. They're like, well, Jay won the Rumble, so he automatically gets a world title shot. I'm like, what about the Women's Royal Rumble winner? Do they not?
Yeah, how come they don't get the main event? Exactly. So for the men's to get the main event, but the women's don't. It's like, well, neither really should, because if you're doing it on, or
Yeah.
one night one, one night two. I like the idea of alternating some things too, or having the rumble at the rumble for the men, and then doing halfway through the year do a women's rumble. Don't have them. Why have two rumbles, two chambers? Split it up.
Uh, it gets. I think that should be a thing too. Like Evolution would be a good place for something like that because
Yeah,
it's an all women pay per view. Give them the spotlight. I think that would be perfect.
absolutely. For them to have their
That
own
winner.
chamber, their own tournament, whatever it might be, just so it feels more like their own and not, oh, we're just doing it because the guys are doing it. Like, the War Games matches, a lot of times for the females, the story wasn't there. But last or 2 years ago, it was like the women had more of the right than the men. Well, they should have been more in focus than anybody else.
Like this year with Rumble winners anyway. Or no, she didn't win the Rumble, so that doesn't matter. I was gonna say Bianca, but
Yeah, she
but
won
if
the
we're talking
chamber, but I get
about
your point.
men and women's main eventing, I think just star value. Uh, I think Io, Bianca, and Rhea deserve the main event over Jade and Gunther,
Yeah, I could certainly see that. I could see
even though
Rhea
the
being more of the
storyline doesn't
draw.
make sense.
And Rhea, no, it doesn't. It's not great. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not too convoluted or confusing, but it definitely needs some work. Bianca still being a face is very bizarre. Then Naomi and Jade having the match, okay, but the acting on SmackDown, a lot of people really loved it. Pro Wrestling Bits, Alfred there, he loved it on SmackDown. I thought Naomi was anything but believable. I thought the acting was terrible. I thought it was very stilted and just not passionate and very not believable. I didn't like her or Bianca. I thought Jade was good when she came out. She seemed legitimately pissed, but the other two left a lot to be desired. It felt like a bad soap opera to me anyways. If other people like it, great. I'm glad you were able to enjoy it, but I couldn't suspend disbelief with them fake crying and shouting over some of their lines. It's not for me in that regard. And it could have been. It should have been.
I agree.
But with Bianca just being it's not because they didn't turn her heel. It's just it doesn't make sense. None of it. It needs to be more logical. And where everything's going so well and making so much sense, when they have things stick out that aren't of a good nature, that certainly takes you out of it. So
If anyone should turn heel with them, though, it's Rhea because you can't have like Bianca turn heel now unless she was just a part of it because it makes the whole Naomi and Bianca dynamic from the promo a few weeks ago
yeah,
meaningless.
exactly. Oh, you didn't. I wanted you to tell me you did it, even though I set you up. Like it now, it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. I don't know how they get there unless they did it before. So that's the unfortunate side of it.
Because if Bianca was in on it, would she keep letting Jade go after Naomi? Because when Jade came out, Bianca's like, she's all yours. Go kick her ass.
Spaz did say, I'm slowly catching up. He's like, someone tell me Rhea isn't the biggest star they have. Tonight, yeah, no Punk, no, it was lacking, unfortunately. And it
I'm
certainly
surprised
showed.
Punk didn't make it.
I know he'll be there next week. I think it was intentionally planned, and it's certain. That's why I said the rest of the show was very mid card centric. Besides the women's title 3-way that they formed, the rest of it was all mid card feuds or tag feuds. Everything in the mid card universe. That was it. So not a bad thing certainly, but just didn't have any of those big like high main event moments besides the opening. So the first 26 minutes, I think it was half an hour, straight dedicated to Cena and Cody and their back and forth. Amazing, cinematic, as Spaz hates me to say, but it definitely certainly took a step back for the rest of the night and felt a bit lacking, and it was noticeable, sadly. But as we said, certainly not a bad Raw, not a one that I wouldn't want to hang my hat on. I would be happy if I was there to have seen it. They had some good matches, no breakout matches, nothing amazing. I certainly wish they got a bit more with either the main event or one of the matches to really go all out for them. But they still got a lot of great storytelling, a lot of good action, and they got to see the first interaction between heel Cena and Cody Rhodes. So all in all, not a bad way to start off their tour in Belgium. They'll be going on Friday to Italy, and then from there we'll be seeing them next week. Go ahead and take over. We've got another big house, so it'll be on at 4 p.m. next Monday on Raw as well. So make sure you keep that in mind. Not 3 p.m. Eastern. Cody, anything else you want to add, my friend, before we get out of here? as I lose my audio. Gotta love that. But I thank you for being here, my friend. I really genuinely appreciate it. Let's see why my audio doesn't want to come back, but that's okay. We'll get it fixed in the interim. Hey, there we go. I think the headset died. All right, but now we're back. Got it working. The stream, I'm telling you. Well, Cody, thank you so very much for hanging out. Thank you to those that were on at Rumble. You guys have been great. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Make sure you follow me over there so that this way, when I go live on Rumble in the future, you will be alerted. That'd be great. Give it a thumbs up. For those of you on YouTube, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me this Monday. Shout out to everybody in the chat. You've all been great. I can't say it enough. Thank you all for everything. The constant support has just been real heartwarming. I appreciate it greatly. So I hope you all have a great Monday night. Keep yourselves entertained with no Raw tonight. Stay sexy, and I'll see you all on the next Into Somewhere Weekly.